As the Wise Octopus team, we are embarking on a controversial journey. Today we are going to meet the aliens visiting our world. Even in our daily lives, we always hear about extraterrestrial life. Extraterrestrial life is life that does not originate on Earth. This is one of the most debated issues in human history. Is there life outside the Earth or not? Mainstream scientists believe that extraterrestrial life can only exist in the form of simple bacteria. However, to date, the existence of any observable extraterrestrial life has not been clearly proven. That is, until recently, when images of two corpses were shared in the Mexican parliament in front of the whole world. Journalist and ufologist Jamie Mawson presented the remains of two allegedly non-human beings at a congress in Mexico City. It was announced that the bodies presented by Mawson belonged to extraterrestrials and were 1,000 years old. During the presentation, a team including Mexican journalist Jamie Mawson and military medical doctor José de Jesus Sales Benitez presented two bodies. These things, which do not exceed 1 meter in height, look very thin, have 3 fingers, grayish skin, a large head and, most importantly, are alleged to be aliens, were shown in coffin-like boxes before the Mexican Congress. Speaking under oath in San Lázaro, where the Mexican parliament is located, Mawson said, "These specimens are not part of our terrestrial evolution. These are not beings found after a UFO wreck. They were found in diatom, or moss mines, and then fossilized." The bodies looked very old and, according to Mawson, had features in common with humans. Mawson claimed that the bodies were found in Peru in 2017. After these statements, scientists and archaeologists in Peru expressed their reactions by stating that this was complete nonsense. Jamie Mawson conducted an interview with Reuters reporter Cassandra Garrison about his research. In the interview, Mawson told Garrison that all the scientific analyses and data studies he presented were actually done on a different corpse in Peru and 2 corpses he presented here in Mexico. Mawson also stated that he would not allow scientific analyses because he did not want to damage the samples. When asked how the 2 bodies traveled from Peru to Mexico, Mawson said he could not explain. As it is known, the exhibition of these 2 bodies at the council in Mexico had angered the authorities in Peru. Here is the evidence, here are the aliens finally found, and of course we don't believe it. Because Jamie Mawson had deceived the public with similar findings in 2017 and 2015. In 2015, it was revealed that the mummy he showed as an alien was the remains of a small child. In 2017, he claimed that the mummies he showed at a press conference were mummies belonging to the human reptile species, but this claim was also debunked by scientists. We don't know, maybe these latest mummies are real. Maybe they are the remains of 2 small humans again. Is there extraterrestrial life, i.e. aliens? Yes, we think so. But only time will tell if these latest findings are true. Before we start our search for aliens, here's a little footnote. We think it is very relevant to our topic. Have you heard the term Project Blue Book before? In fact, it is a very comprehensive and very, very deep subject, but to summarize, Project Blue Book is the name given to the top-secret investigation conducted by the U.S. Air Force between 1947 and 1969, in which 12,000 UFO sighting cases were examined. The project was said to be more than just UFO cases and was the subject of great conspiracy theories. However, it has also been claimed by various theorists that the sub-projects of Project Blue Book were also working on contact with extraterrestrial life forms, life exchange, diplomatic strategy negotiations, science studies, and technology transfers. According to countless conspiracy theories, we have already met extraterrestrial life many years ago. Do you really think so? We don't know, but we would like to show you an image of an alien theme within the scope of Project Blue Book. Afterwards, we leave the interpretation to you.
Okay, we're recording. Stay on an origin. Okay, yesterday you told us you traveled, and I quote, thousands of light years to get here. Yes. Tell us the truth, or the word, or another way. It is truth. I fall off. So I take it aliens took over our future, right? So you're human. Okay, so you evolved from us. So what are you doing here now?
Have scientists and government officials been hiding information from us for years? And if there really is extraterrestrial life and it is known, why was it kept secret for so many years? What do you think are the underlying reasons? Or are people not ready to hear the truth, as some say? We are ready to open the door to a very big mystery. Here we go. According to various theories, extraterrestrials helped our ancient ancestors and trained ancient civilizations in science, technology, agriculture, and many other fields. The Sumerians are the most powerful example. The Sumerians are an ancient civilization that ruled Mesopotamia from 4000 BC to mid-2000 BC. Don't say, what do the Sumerians have to do with aliens? What happened at the beginning of the agricultural era, when people living on Earth were transitioning from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a settled lifestyle, and why did a society suddenly experience such a rapid development? Because the Sumerians were such a superior civilization that the developments and some of the inventions of that period both shaped history and inspired subsequent generations. We would like to give you a few examples to better understand the subject. Sumerians were the first civilization to develop the concept of time measurement, day, and clock. They contributed to the increase in population with agriculture and irrigation techniques ahead of the period. Today's basic mathematical concepts were established during the Sumerian period. The Sumerians, who had a knowledge far ahead of their time in the field of astronomy, created various calendars by observing the sky. They invented various equipment and tools. Especially pots, agricultural tools, and the wheel can be shown as examples of their technological development. By establishing a city-state, they pioneered the city-centered and collective life of people who had previously lived as nomads. They built temples centered on religion and performed various rituals here. But perhaps the most important invention of Sumerian society is writing. Sumerians developed the first writing system in 4000 BC. And they recorded a wide range of information from daily life, legal documents, trade agreements, property records, and even recipes on clay tablets using cuneiform. This is the part that really interests us. In the inscriptions they bequeathed to future generations, this ancient civilization also told us about their gods from the sky. In their written tablets, the Sumerians depicted beings they called Anunnaki as gods who played an important role in their mythology. The term Anunnaki is a combination of the words Anu, sky, and Naki, earth, and can be generally translated as those between the sky and the earth or gods of the earth and sky. According to Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki gods interact with humans and perform various tasks. For example, the creator god Enki plays an important role in creating humans and teaching them knowledge and crafts. Other Anunnaki gods also have different tasks, such as controlling natural phenomena, influencing people's lives, and communicating with humans. Sumerian mythology describes a world in which the Anunnaki gods are depicted as beings who both help humans and, at times, shape their lives. Worship of the Anunnaki gods, rituals and sacrifices are among the basic elements of this mythology. This mythology is an important source reflecting the belief system and cultural values of Sumerian society. Although researchers and historians make conflicting explanations on some issues, in mythology, the Sumerians, in their written legacies, stated that these gods from the sky created the human race. This is shown as evidence that we have actually been in contact with aliens since ancient times. Researchers argue that aliens came to our world in ancient times, citing ancient religious texts and physical examples such as cave paintings, stone statues, and pyramids. It is possible to find different mythological narratives and evidence in civilizations living in various parts of the world, such as the Sumerians. Sumerians, Egyptians, Indians, Chinese, Inca, Romans, Aztecs, Australians. Wherever they are in the world, the main narratives of the stories of ancient civilizations are generally the same, but the names of the beings called God in the narratives change in every civilization. We leave the interpretation to you. Since this topic of Sumerians and ancient civilizations is a very deep and comprehensive subject, we plan to do a broader research in another video. Anyway, without deviating too much from the topic, let's get back to our search for aliens. So how about going to Peru? This is the Nazca Desert in Peru. Spanning an area about 50 miles in diameter on a high plateau in the Nazca Desert, the ancient shapes have baffled archaeologists who have visited the site. Did aliens draw them? For some, these lines are very simple. These lines, which are a combination of simple lines and geometric shapes, are gigantic. It does not seem possible for one person or several people to draw them. 600 feet of animal, bird, and human shapes cover the land here. It could have been drawn by someone with nothing to do. But it doesn't look very convincing. According to scientific research, there is no evidence that the Nazca people, who lived between 300 BC and 800 AD, invented flying objects. According to ancient alien theorists, these shapes were made by aliens and were used to guide spaceships and as landing pads. Well, let's go back to 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago, most Indian epics and Sanskrit texts mention the existence of mythical flying machines called Vimana. The similarities between the shape of the Vimanas and the accounts of people who claim to have seen UFOs add to the mystery. Ancient theorists suggest that astronauts from other planets visited India in ancient times. There are also claims that aliens built temple-like places for themselves. Do these claims sound familiar to you? As we said, there are actually similar stories in every civilization. This is exactly what the researcher Erich von Däniken talks about in his book Chariots of the Gods. In the book, Däniken theorized that extraterrestrials may have visited Earth in prehistoric times and argued that these beings may have contributed to the development of ancient civilizations. We would like to briefly mention the theories mentioned by Däniken in his book. Ancient monuments and structures. Erich von Däniken in the Chariots of the Gods argues that the ancient structures and artifacts found around the world, especially in places like the Egyptian pyramids, Stone Age paintings, giant stone statues on the Pacific Islands and monuments in South America, are too complex to be explained by the technological level of the people of that time. In his book, Däniken suggests that extraterrestrial beings were involved in the construction of these structures and artifacts. Old texts. In his book, the author notes that some texts from different periods of Earth's history contain references to gods or creatures from the sky. Däniken presents these texts as evidence that extraterrestrials interacted with ancient civilizations, just as in the case of the Sumerians. Technological knowledge transfer. Daniken claims that extraterrestrials may have provided advanced technological knowledge to ancient civilizations, enabling them to build extraordinary structures. Alien traces. According to Daniken, figures resembling modern depictions of aliens have been found in artworks and drawings made by ancient civilizations around the world, and these representations are evidence that ancient people encountered alien visitors. Although Daniken's book Chariots of the Gods was the focus of criticism in the mainstream scientific community, the term ancient astronauts was introduced into popular culture thanks to this book. How far Eric von Daniken is right is up to you. Let's continue our journey unabated. This is Easter Island. Easter Island is located in the southeast of the Pacific Ocean, 3,700 kilometers from the Chilean coast and 4,000 kilometers from Tahiti. Easter Island, a Polynesian island, is covered with 887 giant-headed human figures lining its shores. These structures are called maui. These monolithic statues, which are about 500 years old, are 13 feet high and weigh 14 tons. Some are even twice as tall and much heavier. How did these primitive people, who had neither sophisticated tools nor engineering know-how, transport these incredibly large statues here? According to some theorists, these statues are the artifacts and traces of extraterrestrials. It's really creepy and confusing. We're all going to Bolivia. And this is Pumapunku. At Pumapunku, high in the Bolivian mountains, huge blocks of stone that could only be carved by skilled hands are spread across a vast landscape. This immense craftsmanship in such huge stones is impossible without modern tools and machinery. But how was this done 1,000 years ago when construction technology was not advanced? Maybe there are alien engineers here. What do you think? We are curious about your comments. There are many such examples. There are several pyramids in remote locations around the world. Since pyramids are more familiar examples, we will not count them. But we ask you, how can there be pyramids built thousands of years ago, one in Egypt, the other in China or Peru, in locations far away from each other, in almost the same way? Civilizations living so far apart developed at the same time, in the same way, and built these pyramids? It is very hard to believe. Let's add one more question to the questions in our minds and pick up where we left off. Could aliens have visited our world? Very recently, Professor Chaim Eshed, Israel's former chief of space security, pointed out that aliens exist, but they have not contacted us because humanity is not yet ready for it. According to Eshed, the aliens even have an organization called the Galactic Federation. This organization has been in contact with Israel and the United States for years. Professor Eshed, who ran Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years between 1981 and 2010 and was awarded the Israel Security Prize 3 times, made astonishing statements in an interview with the Yediot Ahronoth newspaper. The retired general claimed that agreements have been made with aliens to understand and explore the fabric of the universe. This may sound crazy, or it may be true. It is up to you to comment. So, let's look at the written sources with mysterious images. Did our alien friends really come to Earth in the past years? And if so, what traces did they leave? Let's examine it all together. According to written sources, the first UFOs witnessed by humanity were bright circles of light seen in the sky by Egyptians in 1450 BC. But there are crazier incidents and claims. In 1957, a Brazilian farmer named Antonio Villas-Boas claimed that he was abducted by barking aliens who covered him in gel and had intercourse with him. Could the Brazilian farmer have been lying? It is not known. In a 2003 Harvard University study, 7 out of 10 people who claimed to have been abducted by aliens stated that they had been put to sleep by aliens and used for reproductive or sexual experiments. More interestingly, after these events, Alan Shane, a psychologist at the University of Waterloo, made a statement that people who believe they were abducted by aliens are often prone to sleep paralysis. Isn't that an interesting explanation? The most alien contact news from the past has of course come from the United States of America. In the 1940s and 1950s, there were many people in America who said, "I am in contact with aliens." Let's take a look at the most famous alien contact claims worldwide. Roswell, 1947. The Roswell incident is one of the most famous and most discussed cases related to the UFO and alien phenomenon. In July 1947, near Roswell, a farmer named Mac Brazel found strange pieces of debris scattered over a large area. These pieces included metallic rods, foil-like material, and strange writing. The farmer took the pieces to the local sheriff. The sheriff reported this to the military base in Roswell. Soon after, military officials arrived and quickly collected the debris. On July 8, 1947, a press release from Roswell Air Base stated that a flying disc had been recovered. However, a day later, a high-ranking military official reversed the previous day's statement, stating that the wreckage belonged to an ordinary weather balloon. Of course, this statement caused even more confusion. At first it seemed to be covered up, but by the late 1970s, with the testimony of witnesses and the emergence of new documents, the Roswell incident was back on the agenda. Many believe that the initial flying disc explanation was correct and that the US government was covering up the facts. The debate continued for years and finally, in the late 1990s, the US Air Force published 2 reports on the Roswell incident. These reports stated that the debris was part of Project Mogul, a high-altitude balloon project. The allegations of alien bodies were described as various test dummies and other similar objects. Of course, no one believed these reports either. Rendlesham Forest, 1980. The Rendlesham Forest incident is one of the most famous UFO incidents in the UK and has been called Britain's Roswell. In December 1980, unidentified lights were observed in Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, England, between 2 US Air Force bases, RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters. In the early morning of December 26, 1980, some security guards went to the forest to investigate the strange lights, thinking it was a plane crashing in the forest. However, when they arrived at the scene, they encountered a metallic vehicle-like object emitting bright-colored lights. Near this object, they saw a second strange object shining light on the trees. The object then disappeared, moving quickly through the forest. After the incident, authorities found 3 small holes in the forest and found burnt or damaged trees near the holes. In addition, high levels of radiation were detected after measurements in the area, further confusing the authorities. The second observation in the same area occurred on December 28. Several military personnel observed more lights in the forest. This time, the lights were said to have moved through the forest and then quickly moved away. Shortly after the events took place, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, the deputy base commander at the U.S. base, RAF Bentwaters, issued an official report detailing the incident. This report was later revealed in the United States through a Public Information Act request. Immediately after the incident, many witnesses gave testimonies. However, the authorities did not explain what exactly happened. Some suggested that the observed lights were caused by a nearby lighthouse, but many found this explanation unconvincing. Zamora Incident 1964. In 1964, an unidentified flying object was reported in Socorro, New Mexico, USA. This case has an important place in UFO history, especially because a police officer was directly involved as a witness. The incident took place as follows. On April 24, 1964, Lonnie Zamora, a police officer in the city of Socorro, was following a vehicle for a speeding violation when he heard a loud noise. Immediately after the noise, a rising flame caught his attention. Zamora thought it might be an explosion and began driving toward the area. As he crested a hill, Lonnie Zamora saw a white, egg-shaped object just below the hill. Next to this object, he also observed two people dressed in white. At first he thought the object might be an automobile, but as he got closer, he realized that it did not resemble any vehicle. Zamora approached the object, but it suddenly began to rise. Zamora testified that there was a blue flame underneath the object and that it made a loud noise during takeoff. The object quickly disappeared from sight. Immediately after the incident, other police officers and military officials arrived in the area. Investigations at the scene found some physical evidence, such as scorched earth and strange footprints. The Zamora incident attracted a great deal of attention in its time and was analyzed as part of the U.S. Air Force's secret project, Project Blue Book, which investigates UFO incidents. The fact that the eyewitness was a policeman and that the Air Force investigated the incident did not change the outcome. In other words, the incident was covered up without any explanation. Betty and Barney Hill 1961. This incident is one of the best known and most discussed cases of UFO and alien abduction claims. On September 19, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were returning home at midnight in New Hampshire. At this time, they noticed an object following them in the sky. When Barney examined this object through binoculars, he observed strange beings inside. The couple said that during their journey they experienced a loss of time that they could not make sense of, and that their journey, which would normally take only a few hours, took much longer than expected. In the days after the incident, Betty began to have frightening dreams. And in these dreams, she said she was taken by aliens on a spaceship. Because of the time and memory gaps the couple was experiencing, in 1964 they were put under hypnosis sessions by a psychiatrist, Dr. Benjamin Simon. Under hypnosis, they both gave detailed accounts of being taken aboard a UFO and undergoing medical examinations. During the hypnosis session, Betty drew a star map shown to her by the aliens. This map was analyzed by an amateur astronomer named Marjorie Fish in the late 1960s and matched to the Zeta Reticuli star system. This match was presented by some as proof of the reality of the event. It's really confusing. The story of Betty and Barney Hill reached a wide audience with the book The Interrupted Journey by John G. Fuller. It has also been featured in many television programs, documentaries, and films. Although recent world history is full of hundreds of examples like these, there has never been a single UFO incident that has been confirmed and accepted by official institutions. This, of course, leads curious people like us to ask questions. Do aliens really exist? Do they visit our world? Or are they all a figment of imagination? Or is it a plot by foreign powers to change the agenda? Scientists first attempted to introduce humans to aliens in 1972. Carl Sagan and Frank Drake designed a plaque for the Pioneer 10 spacecraft with a picture of a naked man and woman. The purpose of this work was to intimidate the aliens. It's not a joke, it's real. The attempt to intimidate aliens continued afterward. Five years later, look what happened. Scientists sent sound recordings into space.
Eirenikos pros philos elelithamen philoi.
Paz e felicidade a todos.
Sayın Türkçe bilen arkadaşlarımız, sabah şeriflerinize hayırlı olsun.
The two Voyager spacecraft launched in 1977 carried a gold-plated record with whale sounds, greetings in 55 languages spoken around the world, in a Bulgarian folk tune. Of course, we didn't get a response from the aliens, or maybe they didn't like listening to music. Don't think we are joking about this incident. Just in case, NASA sent the record player needle and operating instructions along with the record. In case the aliens couldn't get the record player to work, NASA had a thoughtful idea. Now that we have slowly moved from the examples of the past to the present, here are some explanations from the present. Elon Musk, the owner of Tesla and SpaceX, posted the message aliens built the pyramids of Giza on his social media account. Following this message of Musk, who has millions of followers on Twitter, Egyptian Minister of International Cooperation Rania Al-Mashad invited Musk to his country, stating that the Giza pyramids were built by humans. "I follow your work with admiration. I invite you and the SpaceX team to examine the inscriptions found on how the pyramids were built. I also recommend you to take a look at the tombs of the pyramid builders. Mr. Musk, we are waiting for you." I did not investigate whether Elon Musk responded to Egypt's invitation, but he bought Twitter. In fact, it is now called X, not Twitter. I think he can now delete his posts more easily if he gets a reply he doesn't like. Now hold on tight, we are going to a more recent history. Last July, very interesting developments took place in the United States, one of the most criticized countries for hiding the truth about the contacts. A session was held in the House of Representatives to hear claims about unexplained flying objects, or UFO sightings. This was recorded as a first in the history of the United States. Was the US preparing to accept the existence of aliens? Or was a scenario written and played out in front of the whole world to change the agenda? We don't know. At the very beginning of the session, the interesting events and unexplained phenomena described by the witnesses were enough to change the agenda in an instant. The testimony of Ryan Graves, who served as a pilot in the US Navy, created a shock effect in the hall and all over the world. At the hearing, Graves described an incident that happened to him in 2014. He stated that while flying in an F-18 fighter jet, he encountered a UFO, which he described as a dark gray or black cube inside a transparent sphere, about 15 feet wide, hovering incredibly motionless despite strong winds. But the real highlight of the hearing was former intelligence officer David Grush, who attended the hearing as chief confessor and served as a representative of the National Reconnaissance Office's (NRO) Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force from 2019 to 2021. Grush implied that government officials are hiding information about UFOs and aliens, saying that officials who speak out on the subject will be penalized and cannot make further statements due to privacy laws. Following this statement, Nancy Mace, a Republican representative from South Carolina, asked David Grush, "Are there remains of extraterrestrials?" Mace also asked whether biological material was found in the extraterrestrial vehicles captured by the government. Grush replied, "There was biological material in some of the remains found." Mace asked were they human or non-human. Grush replied, "They were not human, and that assessment was made by people I spoke to who had direct knowledge of this project." Very interesting developments, isn't it? Why is it that the US, which wanted to cover everything up for so many years, is now trying to find answers to questions that have not been answered for years? Before we say goodbye, we'd like to mention something that caught our attention. First, the UFO session in America, then the alien corpses in Mexico. Parallel to these developments, many UFO observation videos have recently started to appear on social media and in the press. I wonder if the aliens are ready to meet us now? Sorry, that was wrong. I think they already know us. Are we ready to meet aliens? We don't know how it will happen, but it is certain that there will be bigger developments in the near future. As the Wise Octopus team, we would like to say goodbye with one last question. Have you ever experienced such an event or observation that you cannot explain? I mean, have you ever seen a UFO? We are waiting for your answers in the comments section. See you in the next video. Goodbye.
What are the conspiracy theorists saying? Who are these reptilians? Are reptilians aliens? Have they been living among us since antiquity? Is the reptilian race currently ruling the entire world? Will reptilians start World War III? Which world-famous singers are reptilian? In which caves do these half-human, half-reptilian beings live? In this episode we take a journey with some of the world's most mysterious and frightening people. Lizard people, called reptilians, are reptilian humanoids who play an important role in science fiction and conspiracy theories. The idea was first proposed by conspiracy theorist David Icke, who claimed that shape-shifting reptilian aliens control Earth by taking human form and manipulating human societies to gain political power. With this detail in hand, it came to the fore that a Secret Service employee protecting Trump, who recently served as the President of the United States, was a reptilian. Why might reptilians, reptiles in English, be so interested in the Earth? Why do they come from deep space and try to take over the world? What is their purpose? Have you paid attention to this detail on the arm of American President Biden, who has been on the agenda frequently with his health problems in recent days? U.S. President Joe Biden addresses the 77th General Assembly of the United Nations. In this image, which supports the conspiracy theories that the world is ruled by a handful of strange people, please look carefully at the detail on Biden's arm. When Biden raises his hand, an object-like object appears on the wrist of his left hand where the shirt begins. It resembles a piece of skin. Reptilian beings were strange creatures. Was the object that came out of Biden's arm an object of his own body? Biden's eyes were also strange in this speech. There was something strange in the president's left eye. The object that appeared on his wrist and suddenly escaped inside, the strange situation in his eye makes it mysterious. What happened during this speech, in which Biden confronted his rival Trump, strengthened the claims that Biden was a reptilian? Was someone controlling Biden? According to some opinions, the detail on Biden's arm was nothing more than a sound and camera device placed on President Biden by the security teams. However, not many people under protection in history have displayed such a strange appearance. The mystery of Biden's wrist and eye remains a mystery. David Icke has repeatedly stated that many world leaders are supposedly reptilians or have been taken over by reptilians. The reptilians on Earth are actually known beings that have been seen by very few people. Allegedly, wherever there is injustice, reptilians are there. But for the last 50 years, wherever global powers have brought justice, the picture has been terrible. Cartoons watched by millions of people around the world also refer to reptile people.
Everything they teach you in school is a lie. You want the truth? Lizard people!
The theory that strange reptilian and human-looking creatures rule the world remains on the agenda. The Simpsons cartoon, which shows many surprising events that turn into reality in its episodes months and years in advance, had previously aired an episode about monster presidents. The Simpsons' father pursued a mystery about the presidents being reptilians, and this is how he proved in the movie that they were not human beings but strange creatures. We're going to Area 51 in America, which holds dozens of secrets. Area 51 was essentially unknown when it was first established. The number of people who knew the area could be counted on the fingers of two hands. As a result of the feverish work of Russian agents, KGB officers, it was revealed that there is a secret base in America called Area 51. Specially trained agents from the KGB have infiltrated what is known as the United States Air Force, a center for the study, analysis, and research of aircraft and enemy weapons. Although Area 51 is known as a place where new airplanes and weapons are tested and produced, it is claimed that there are aliens here and that flying spacecraft land here secretly. That's why it is forbidden to approach and enter. Area 51 is very important to Americans. Some presidential candidates have even promised in the past to open Area 51 to the public as an election promise. But it is forbidden to even walk around the area, let alone visit it. About 6 years ago, 2 motorcyclists were accidentally riding off-road near Area 51 and were immediately detained by specially trained soldiers of the U.S. Air Force.
I'm not going to tell you again. Turn around!
It is not even wise to go here and take pictures from a distance. Because specially trained commandos guard this place 24 hours a day. Area 51 allegedly produces snake men and reptiles that resemble humans. Michael Barkin, a professor of political science, argues that the idea of the reptilian conspiracy theory originated in a story called The Shadow Kingdom by Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan the Barbarian, published in Weird Tales in August 1929. So according to him, these reptiles do not rule the world. This story was based on the theosophical ideas of the lost worlds of Atlantis and Lemuria. Robert Howard's snake men are humanoids who can impersonate humans at will, living in underground passageways and using shape-shifting and mind control abilities to infiltrate humanity. In the 1940s, researcher Claude Doggins described a race of snakes with human-like bodies but snake heads and the ability to take human form. These creatures also appeared in Doriel's poem, The Emerald Tablets. Historian Edward Gimmont has argued that the reptilian conspiracy theory, especially as explained by David Icke, derives from earlier pseudo-historical legends developed during the colonization of Africa. Are the reptilians a hybrid race that came from extraterrestria thousands of years ago and bred with humans? Are these human-like reptiles the Naga of South Asian and Southeast Asian mythology, demigod-like creatures that are half man, half snake? In fact, these humanoid reptiles are more common in the southern United States, where swamps are common. Hundreds of lizard men were seen in South Carolina in the late 1980s. The eyes of this race are like snakes. Their skin is scaly, and their species are tailed. They can be between 1.5 and 3.5 meters long. David Icke, a former professional soccer player, sportscaster and reporter, started living strange days and making interesting statements in 1990 when a psychic told him that he was a healer. However, interesting events were taking place in parallel with his statements. Accounts of people who say they were abducted by aliens are sometimes told in connection with reptilians. One of the earliest reports was that of Herbert Shermer, a Nebraska police officer who recalled under hypnosis that in 1967 he was taken aboard a UFO by light reptilian-looking humanoid beings with a winged serpent emblem on the left side of their chests. Most people laughed at the police officer's explanation. He said that he had no other purpose than to try to deceive people. So who and what really controls the world? These half-human, half-reptilian creatures, which can grow up to 3 meters in length and are said to have scaly skin, have allegedly spread insidiously all over the world. And according to another frightening claim, these creatures include politicians, singers, scientists, philosophers, even construction workers and cleaning workers. In other words, these are beings that can rule the world and have a direct impact on our lives. But even if we wanted to, it is very difficult to understand the true purpose of these beings. According to many researchers, reptilians are very intelligent, very advanced. According to many conspiracy theorists, the famous Jewish Rothschild and Rockefeller families and the British royal family are of reptilian descent. In addition, many former American presidents, including the Bushes, father and son, are said to be of the reptilian race. Let's go back to 2006 in Manisa, an Aegean city in Turkey. A young man named Muhittin recorded an image for social media. Muhittin recorded an image of a creature. It was claimed that the creature in this image was reptilian, the alien race believed to rule the world. The mystery of the image, which caused a great shock to 29-year-old Muhittin, is still unsolved. In the image in question, it was seen that there was an unidentified object in the trees in the forest area. When it realized that the camera was filming it, the creature turned and looked at the camera, startling the viewers. However, the reptilian creature did not harm Muhittin. Some sources say that the reptilian race is demonic beings. Believed to have supernatural powers, these beings commonly live in a strange cave. Together we are going to the Cave of Reptiles. This is the Reptilian Caves. Two eyewitnesses experienced a strange event in the late afternoon of March 7, 2004. Two men were riding motorcycles in the caves of Missouri. Two men driving through an area called the Underground, a public and private storage facility close to a town, came across an abandoned underground warehouse that used to be a food depot for the U.S. Navy. It was an enormous space, capable of holding 40,000 people at once. When they came to an area called the Army Authorized Area, they were about 8 miles deep in caves. In fact, it was forbidden to enter this abandoned military zone, but two curious men, thinking that no one was around, barged in. They began to notice a musty and damp smell that intensified as they descended meters deeper. The lighting also changed. It was now darker than the other area they had come from. They turned on their flashlights and realized that it was getting colder. Turning to the right, they continued on towards what appeared to be a rest area about 100 meters away. One of the witnesses saw what he thought was a pair of fountains. They both stopped immediately. About 30 meters away they saw two strange creatures. One of the creatures was very tall. According to their testimony, he was about 2.5 meters tall, very big, with a strong appearance. His skin did not look human. It was reddish in color. The other creature was smaller, pale, almost albino in color. It was also not as frighteningly large as the other. Both beings looked like large reptiles. When they moved a little more, it was claimed that they looked more like a giant lizard than a human being. For minutes they stood there staring at the creatures. Then slowly they decided to get out of there. As they moved, the strange beings started to move towards them. The two curious men ran away quickly, lest disaster befall them. The creatures were following them, but not for long. When the creatures came to the lighted area, they stopped. The two curious men saved their lives. As the two men were leaving on their motorcycles, they came across a military security unit nearby. They immediately raised the matter with them. The soldiers threatened them that this was a matter of national security and that they would face federal and military charges if they spoke about it. The matter remained secret for several months in 2004, but when the two friends talked about it while drunk, it slowly spread around the world. From America, we moved to Queensland, Australia. We're after the creatures. This is Black Mountain, the so-called reptilian nest in Australia. Rising from the wilderness of Queensland, Australia, it looks even more eerie with its surrounding brush and eucalyptus trees. You may love nature, but there is an energy here that will constrict your soul. It is normal to look at the sea of green trees around you, but the enormous rocks around you look as if someone has thrown them with their hands. Everywhere you look is chaos. This is a place known as Black Mountain. The locals don't come here because it's a very unsafe place. The locals say that strange creatures have been living here for a long time. There is a constant rotten smell coming from the area. At night, they say, they hear eerie sounds coming from deep inside the cave, such as moaning, crying, screaming, drilling and deep hissing. The local people of the region named the mountain Kalkajaka. This name means place of spears. Another name for the mountain is Death Mountain. Aboriginal stories say that the mountain is a haunted place, inhabited by various evil spirits and demons that hunger for human souls. Aboriginal people tell stories of people who disappeared on the mountain long before Europeans arrived. In 1877, a courier named Grainer came near the mountain on horseback looking only for an escaped calf. The man, horse, and calf never returned. When the mountain is searched, there is no trace of the animals or the courier, and it is assumed that they have fallen into one of the jagged cracks between the rocks. A few years later, Sugarfoot Jack and several accomplices flee to Black Mountain following a shootout. The police who follow the case carry out an extensive search, but despite everything, they can't find where they went. The criminals are thought to have disappeared in a cave. The disappearances show a strange increase over the years. In the 1920s, two professional cave explorers traveling up the mountain to solve the mystery disappeared here, as well as some onlookers who were looking for them. More recently, in 1932, a journalist named Harry Page disappeared during a hike to Black Mountain and was later found dead of unknown causes. Could reptilians be living inside Black Mountain? Reptilians are human-looking creatures. According to some confusing allegations, many famous people who rule and shape the world are reptilian. The British newspaper The Sun has repeatedly written about theories about immortality. The most striking one was the thesis about the royal family: they drink blood to be healthy. It was also claimed that Michael Jackson was hidden by the Illuminati sect. David Icke believes that the Jewish Rothschild and Rockefeller families and the Bush family in the US are also reptilian, adding that, thanks to their wealth, they have no difficulty in finding the healthiest blood. Elvis Presley, who died in 1997, is actually still alive. According to conspiracy theorists, this was the reason why the autopsy was not performed. Illuminati member Beyoncé is also on the agenda of conspiracy theorists. The Sun wrote that the star died in 2000 and was cloned again. The newspaper even stated that the big difference between the old and new photos of the famous singer is proof of this. So, will there be a reptilian signature in the oft-rumored apocalyptic war, World War III? World War III reptilians have completed preparations claim is just around the corner. Reptilian aliens are allegedly organizing mayhem in Europe to trigger a global war. It is a popular myth among cybercomplex theorists that shape-shifting reptilians rule the world. The reptilians, who allegedly manage wars, epidemics, social chaos, and pandemics, will feed even more on blood with the Third World War, and the world will now officially be under their rule. Do you think such humanoid reptiles could exist on Earth? Will the secrets be revealed one day, or will they remain secrets forever? See you in the next video. Goodbye.